This episode of What Do You Say with DDJ is dedicated to the memory of my friend Steve Becker, who recently passed away after a long battle with cancer. This will be followed by 10 seconds of silence, and then we will begin the show.
Attention wrestling fans, you're now about to listen to the man coming down the aisle from the main streets of South Elgin, Illinois, with a microphone in his hand and questions on his mind. This is What Do You Say with DDJ.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 34 of What Do You Say with DDJ. As always, I am your host, DDJ. This episode is the last of the What Do You Say with DDJ Invasion series, where I talk to the host of the other podcasts that are part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad. And in this episode, I talk to the host of the Brad and Stevens Talkin' Wrestling podcast. But that would be Brad Marcus, who also does the Toilet Side Wrestling Talk show and does the Getting to Know a Junkie and the Show and Tell shows on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook page. And then also the coolest little dude that is part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group. That would be the man behind Steve's 3, which is a staple of our virtual markouts. That would be Steven Spice. So, guys, kick back, relax, grab a drink, grab a snack. Get in your favorite comfy chair and enjoy episode 34 of What Do You Say with DDJ? And my guests this week, Brad Marcus and Steven Spice.
This is Steve Tortorello from Warrior Wrestling in Chicago Heights, Illinois, and you are listening to What Do You Say with DDJ. Enjoy the show, everybody.
Alrighty then. Welcome to the last part of my What Do You Say with DDJ Invasion series. Once again, this is where I talked to the host of the podcast that also are part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad Network. And joining me today is someone who does not just one, but he does 2 podcasts for the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad, not to mention a bunch of other really cool shows and stuff. Joining me right now is my good friend, Brad Marcus. Brad, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you, DDJ? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, it's my pleasure. It's been a long time coming and stuff. I mean, when I set out to do this series, it's like, how can I do this and not have you on? So,
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Because I listen to your show all the time.
Much appreciated in that, and that. So I'm going to get right into it.
Sure.
First question I ask everybody I have on my show. You're no different. How did you discover professional wrestling?
Okay. Now, the only reason that I know the specific date was that it was easy to find. I didn't know it for the first 20 years of my life. So on November 2nd, 1985, I was sleeping at my dad's house and we had bunk beds. So I slept on the top. My brother, who's 3 years older, slept on the bottom. And so I must have gone to bed early that night or whatever early was for a little kid. And I remember waking up and like they were on the bottom bunk watching something on TV and it was Saturday night's main event. And like I remembered which episode it was because it was like their Halloween episode, but it was in 11/2. So that's when I started, and I never like my fandom never like went down. It was hidden for a couple years, but that was only because I thought I had to do that to get girls, not talk about wrestling all the time. But no, I've always been a big fan, and I'm still like a huge fan of like 80s wrestling.
Yeah, me too. It's my favorite. I'm a huge fan. And people talk about the Attitude Era. People talk about the Ruthless Aggression era, and stuff. They talk about the NWO era, things like that. But for me, it's the 80s because you had such the colorful characters, the rosters were deep across. I mean, you probably had the tag team divisions were the deepest, I think, ever back in the 80s. Not only in WWF, but also in the NWA and stuff. So yeah, I'm a total 80s guy myself. And that. So when you first started watching, who was like one of the first guys that really kind of drew you in?
Well, Hulk Hogan, obviously, because I think, I was 9. So that was, he was like larger than life and like could do no wrong for me. But then I also liked Macho Man. That one, I started getting hooked like when he would wrestle Tito Santana, when he eventually got the title, and Junkyard Dog. Those were, and that was because I think those were one of the first, those LJ and wrestling figures I got.
Yeah.
So so those guys I ended up loving, and like Ricky Steamboat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Steamboat. You meant 2 of the ones you mentioned there are in my top 5. That being Ricky Steamboat, who's number 2, and Randy Savage, who's number 3. If you could, if I put a gun to your head and I said, give me your top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time, you don't have to put them in any specific order. Who would they be?
Was it top 3 you said?
Top 5.
Top 5. Okay, no specific order of my favorite. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man. Sorry, I'm blank. CM Punk, HBK, and I'm actually going to say John Cena.
Okay.
And only because, not because he's a great wrestler, he's, or he's the best in anything. I just like the fact that how good of a person he is and how hard he works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've learned to, like, 5-10 years ago, I wouldn't have included him in a top 20. Mm-hmm. But, as I got older and see the stuff he does and what kind of person he actually is, I become more of a fan.
Right. And I know he'll be joining me a little bit later in the show, but I know he's your co-host on Steven and Brad's Talking Wrestling. That's his guy, correct?
Oh, correct. Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything he could do, John Cena, to Steven not be his fan. It'd be an interesting experiment, but Steven couldn't be involved. He's too young.
Yeah, right. Yeah, John Cena, like I said, he gets a lot of slack, but he would be someone that if my son, who's just kind of watches here and there, he loves Roman Reigns, but if he would say, Dad, my favorite wrestler is John Cena, I would be okay with that. So.
I'd be fine with that too. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, and like, I know this is lame, he does put out a really good message, especially for children, so, yeah.
Okay, so you talked about back, watching Saturday night's main event and stuff, but what was it? Obviously, you mentioned about Hogan was one of the first ones that drew you in, but what was it about pro wrestling that kind of hooked you? Like, was it the characters, the athleticism, the stories? What about pro wrestling was really what brought you in?
At first, it was the characters. Like, I didn't. I didn't watch the actual wrestling or appreciate like I, do now, like the actual art of doing that. But so it was definitely the like over the top characters, bigger than life. And it was also something where, and it is still to this day, I could do and watch and it would keep me like my mind off anything else, so like, maybe I shouldn't say this. Every single night when I go to sleep, I watch wrestling. I set my sleep timer and fall asleep. And my wife doesn't understand. I said, because it calms me down. I can just focus and be in this little world. And like, I love it. And, so that was a big, that became a big draw watching wrestling.
And I like, one of the things I really took from what you just said is that it gives you something to focus on. It gives you something to wind down with and stuff like that. And that's exactly what one of the many things that pro wrestling has done for me. Mm-hmm. I can have like a bad day, or whatever. And I come home, if my wife's not there because, she and my son are at her mom's house and stuff. And that like I could throw on, watch whatever, like we're recording this on a Wednesday. So, obviously most of us will be watching Dynamite or NXT. I could throw that on and just watching these guys kind of act out all this aggression and stuff that just kind of gets it out of my system and stuff. And it really helps me unwind. And like you said, it gives me something to focus on. And that. So I really loved hearing you say that, because that's kind of exactly how I look at pro wrestling. It's like, you know, an escape from reality, an outlet, that kind of thing.
You know, it's funny because I had a lot of like mental health issues, you know,
Mhm.
over the last whatever, 15 years. And
Mhm.
it always came to, it was like, oh, well, at least I have wrestling. At least I have this to look
Yep.
forward to Monday. At least I have this to look forward to Wednesday, you know. And so like it's stupid to say like it's always been there for me, but it is like it's been there for me when other things were absent.
Right. I know. And I agree with you. Like I said, there's been very few things that have been constant in my life, my family, my friends,
Mhm.
and pro wrestling. That's basically it,
Sure.
and that. So, but yeah. So, what you mentioned something about having to keep your fandom hidden for a couple of years.
Mhm.
Um, why did you feel, you mentioned about having to get girls? Was this like when you were like in high school or something?
Yeah, probably I would say seventh grade
Okay,
through
so junior high.
high school, because then
Okay,
once I got to college, I didn't care.
right.
But it was a thing. I was very shy growing
Mhm,
up, especially around girls. I was so shy,
mhm.
and I just thought like, oh God, like they don't talk to me now. They're never
Mhm.
going to talk to me if they, if I'm wearing my
Right,
wrestling shirts and stuff like that. Now I look back on that now and I'm like, what? Who gives who cares what anyone
exactly.
else thinks? But at the time, I was so insecure, and so like, as a kid, like this is the way this is, and if I reveal this, then they're gonna call me X name or Y name. And
Mhm.
again, it was I would never teach my kids to, or let them feel that way
Right,
about
I
something they
remember.
love.
Right, exactly. You shouldn't be ashamed of, loving something, especially like pro wrestling or,
Hmm.
video games or a certain type of movie or something like that. Because I think that's one of the things that makes, you know, society great, is that we have all these things out there that, we can be interested in. We all don't
Hmm.
have to be interested in the same things.
Yep,
And that's
absolutely.
and and that's also one of the things I really like about pro wrestling, is that there really is something out there for everyone. I mean, you've got your technical matches. You could throw in, just say, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko. You could throw,
Sure.
in a high flying cruiserweight match, to say like just Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. We can throw in
Hmm.
your hardcore matches with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. Your tag team, brawls with like the Road Warriors and the Russians and stuff like that. I mean, there's something out there
Absolutely.
for everybody, and that's what I really love about pro wrestling. Now, let me ask you this: when it
Hmm.
comes to all the different things out, that styles of pro wrestling that I just mentioned,
Hmm.
you've got your scientific matches, you've got your hardcore matches, your death matches, your luchador, lucha matches, your cruiserweight
Hmm.
matches, all that stuff. What style of wrestling do you prefer, and why?
I love tag team wrestling, and again, it stems
Okay.
back from the '80s.
Mhm.
I liked seeing the two. I like seeing two really good, or a tag team, really good tag team, work together like seamlessly, like dance partners, or and if both teams are like that, the matches are fantastic.
Right.
And and as you and I were coming from like the Bulldogs versus the Heart Foundation, Killer
Mhm.
Bees versus Heart Foundation, and these guys, they were specifically tag team
Yep.
wrestlers, and they worked really well. And it looked like a really awesome dance
Mhm.
when they're doing it right.
Right.
I don't death matches, and I've told Steven this, he knows, and I don't understand why he likes them. I have a really he loves them. I have a really hard time watching those, especially if thumbtacks are used.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that.
Well. Oh yeah. No. So that actually, I've got two questions, that just popped in my head, with that last statement you made. We're gonna start with the exploding barbed wire death match. Minus the end, because
Hmm.
we all know what happened at the end of that match, and
Hmm.
and I think AEW did a phenomenal job covering that up, and really kind
Yeah.
of they did such a good job that really nobody's even talking about it now.
Absolutely.
But taking out the ending of that match, what did you think of that match at Revolution?
Okay, so I watched it, and admittedly, like there were times I'd have to like look at the corner of the TV, like if something was again like thumbtacks and everything.
Right.
But I loved it as like as the story of the like throughout the match. I didn't really even at that when the ending happened. I didn't really even care that much because, I mean, we've seen throughout the years horrible endings, you know, and then they clear them up or try and fix them best they can on the Monday night, you know, or the next time they're on. But I enjoyed that death match, you know, especially with the exploding stuff. You know, that was easier for me to digest than the Rock brothers having those matches with the glass.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. I almost passed out on a train, like fainted on a train watching that. But I didn't make that mistake.
Okay. And then obviously you said thumbtacks are kind of something that make you cringe. What do you think the use of the thumbtacks in the match we just saw actually 1 week ago tonight? Again, we're recording this on Wednesday, March 24th, with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa.
Okay. That one, I had a much easier time watching the death match, the death match. This one, I enjoyed it. It was a little too violent for me as far as blood. And then there was also one spot where, you know, they had the thumbtacks, and you know when you you put your hand on the mat to help you get up, like when they did right into the thumbtacks, I'm like, oh my god, that like stuck with me, and made me cringe throughout the match.
One of the
I can appreciate that they were good. These were incredible, you know, performances.
Right. One of the things I really liked about the use of the thumbtacks in that match was that they didn't use them just to use them. Like they got, you know, it made sense because, you know, the one thing I took from that was when Thunder Rosa was in the lockjaw or whatever Britt's submission maneuver is called. I think it was lockjaw. She rolled Britt into the tacks to get her to break the hold, and I thought that was brilliant use of the tacks there.
Yeah, that was smart.
That so
like it wasn't just to like make oohs and ahs. Like she used
right. It's kind of like when Omega hit Moxley with the first one winged angel, but instead of kicking out to preserve, you know, the whole thing, you know, the move. You know, Moxley put his foot on the barbed wire rope, which triggered the explosion, which triggered the break and stuff, which I thought was just a really, you know, nice little touch as well, too.
Yeah, again, besides the ending of that match and just those two matches, they were fantastic. Like for a fan, especially, you know, seeing one like on TV. I mean, you know, free TV.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, looking at your collection behind you again, if you're not watching this, if you're listening to this on, you know, one of the audio platforms, you know, Apple, Google, Spotify, you know, wherever you get your podcast from, you know, my friend Brad's in his room and he's got a really nice collection there, and he's got a couple of the all-time great video games, not just wrestling video games, but just video games in general for the Nintendo 64 system, and that one of them being my personal favorite, WWF No Mercy. What is your favorite wrestling video game of all time?
It is actually WrestleMania 2000, which
nice.
You know I have, but you wouldn't be able to see it behind those two. That's my favorite. And No Mercy is a very, very close second. But I liked the story or career mode in WrestleMania 2000 where they like had you know, they put down the card for Raw and they put down a card and you just kind of go throughout the calendar month, and they set up match. Sometimes it's a contenders match, sometimes it's a championship match. That I loved. But yeah, that No Mercy and WCW NWO Revenge are the ones that, like, you know, I still play.
Right. Yeah. I haven't played one of those in a long time, but I used to have a lot of good times with those.
Well, because of COVID, I brought out the Nintendo 64 and then just left it out.
Nice. So obviously, you know, most of the people that I talk to and interact with when it comes to wrestling, they have some kind of collection with wrestling merchandise, you know, be it autographs, be it turnbuckles, be it pictures, be it Funko Pops. What is like one like thing that you really have a nice, we'd say you'd have a nice collection of, right, when it comes to wrestling?
I would say, autographs I have. My favorite thing to collect, and I mean, it's very difficult, obviously, now, it was getting pictures with the wrestlers, just
Yes.
because I always think that's a good way, to relive a memory. I flip through a little book or, something to keep pictures. So I have a little bit of everything, shirts, I have figures, and just little like toys. Like I had told you off air that, I went to that store Five Below and found just all these great little, pieces that I bought, like the, Masters of the Universe, Becky Lynch. And it's so I have a little bit of everything, pins and pictures and autographs, but nothing that I would ever show on my show and tell show. I don't have enough of one thing, I don't think, for it to be an interesting collection. And I started late, I didn't have any of my stuff from growing up anymore.
Right. Yeah. I wish I had all my my Hasbro figures from back then, because I wish I didn't open them, because I know a lot of them
Totally
stuff right now. But that was besides the point. Back then, I bought toys to play with them. So
yeah, exactly.
From that, so you alluded to it here, and I kind of want to go into a little bit about what you do, for the Pro Wrestling Junkie site. But before I do that, one other question that I've been asking everybody that I've had on for this, Invasion special. I had the guy, Spencer and Jovan from the Junkyard. I had the guys from Let's Get Shoot on last week. I asked them all this question. I'm going to ask this one to you too. What is it about pro wrestling, the fan base of professional wrestling, that really, in your opinion, that really separates it from, say, the fan bases of, Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, NASCAR? Like, what really, in your mind, separates wrestling fans from all other fans of like sports teams and stuff?
What I think is wrestling fans are more inclusive. Like at a baseball game, there's the home crowd and they're just for the home team. But at when you go to a wrestling match, everyone's got a ton of favorites, So it's I think it brings the fans closer. And even going to a show alone, you could be talking to a 9-year-old on one hand, to one side of you, and a 50-year-old guy to the other side of you, and you're having the same conversation. So I kind of like that it's kind of inclusive in that sense, and there's not one side of fans versus another side of fans, for rooting for one team or the other.
Right. So one more question, and then we'll get into what you do for the group and stuff.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but you still follow most of the current product right now, correct?
Yeah.
Who are some of your current favorites right now?
I still love Kenny. I'm just starting to get I love the Fiend. I love the idea of it, but I'm starting to get a little tired of that. And I've actually been liking Drew McIntyre a lot lately, taking into account his whole evolution, of when he first came to WWE and everything that happened in between. I've been liking his matches more, and actually at the same Sheamus. I've been enjoying his work in them together. I think Sheamus is there's just too many guys that should be champion or could be champion, for him to get his, shot at this point. But those are probably the guys I like right now. I always like Seth Rollins. I'm a little bored with him though right now.
Yeah, I know we talk about him a lot on the Junkyard, and a lot of us are kind of this kid just because it's he's going through a bit of a bit of an identity crisis because
Mhm.
he comes out to his, burn it down music, but he's still the Messiah. And it's just like, okay, which version of Seth Rollins
Yeah.
and I think one of the things that we're in agreement on the Junkyard is the fact that I think we're all ready to see Seth freaking Rollins come back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And put on like great matches without it being so much of his gimmick bleeding into the wrestling.
Mhm. So
Because he used to put on amazing matches in like Ring of Honor, and I mean, he's still talented enough to do that.
right, agreed. Okay, so you alluded earlier about the Show and Tell show, which is one of the many shows that you put out,
Yes.
for Pro Wrestling Junkie. So this is okay. So obviously you've got your Toilet Side Wrestling Talk, you've got Brad's Talking Wrestling, you do Show and Tell, and you also do Getting to Know a Junkie.
Yes.
Do you feel it's like, I mean, how much of a burden do you feel it is for you to essentially be responsible for doing 4 shows?
Well, it's better now because at one point I was doing 2 Toilet Side Wrestling Talk shows a week, 2 Getting to Know Junkies, and a Show and Tell. And this was well before the Steven thing. But then it started like really stressing me to being able to, I just didn't have enough time. And, but so now we cut it down to 1 of each. So it started when I first came on, it started with Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. And then eventually we came up the idea of meeting people in the Pro Wrestling Junkies community. And then that spilled over into seeing, because then, when I would talk to people, I'm like, oh my God, it's a really cool collection. Or do you collect anything? So that turned into Show and Tell. And then shortly after I did a show, Getting to Know a Junkie with Steven. Shortly after that, Jacob and I started talking about doing a podcast with Steven.
That's awesome. So yeah. So again, guys out there, if you're listening to this, and you've never had a chance to listen to any of the great stuff that Brad does, please do so. Said he does Toilet Side Wrestling Talk, which where your Toilet Side Wrestling Talk is pretty similar to what I do with my show, What Do You Say with DDJ, whereas you interview wrestlers, you've had a little bit of a wider scope because you've had Ring of Honor got people on. You've had independent, talent from all over the world and stuff like that. How much fun do you have doing these interviews with these wrestlers?
Oh, it's awesome. Like it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of it's a lot of work before like talking to them or like even finding them. But it's so much fun. Like, just the fact of in this last year, I think I've interviewed maybe 60 something or low 60s. And so I got to interact with 60 different people, and that's really fun about it. And like everybody, my thing is that even you or me or Joe Blow or whatever, everyone's got a good story to tell, So, you could be in the WWE or you could be in the lowest, independent, promotion, but still have a really good story about how you got to where you are. And anyone in any, business. So that's what I really like to just sit and listen.
Yeah, no, that's kind of one of the things I've really gotten to enjoy with, doing this show as well, too. So again, this is before I let you go here. I want to give you some time to plug all the shows, tell my audience where and where they can watch, how they can listen. And then also too, because just recently you had a T-shirt come out, so I want you to take the time to let my audience know how they can support you by buying your merch.
Okay, so on every Tuesday is a new episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk, and like DDJ said, it's a lot of independent wrestlers, sometimes promoters, and sometimes miscellaneous. But that's every Tuesday, and those premiere on Facebook, and then they're also on part of our podcast network, which is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of like the major podcast platform downloading platforms. Wednesdays we have Steven and Brad's Talking Wrestling. And that is also a podcast and can also be seen on Facebook. On Thursdays, we have Getting to Know a Junkie, where we meet some, members of, 7,000 in our community and learn more about them. And finally, on Sundays, we do Show and Tell, which is probably my favorite show, I think, just because it's really, people have some really cool stuff, if you're a wrestling fan. So the Getting to Know a Junkie and Show and Tell obviously can't be on a podcast because you wouldn't be able to see much,
right?
Obviously.
Yeah,
but that's all. And if you want to buy my shirt, it's on Pro Wrestling Tees under our Pro Wrestling Junkies, and we have, I don't know, we must have like six different designs up already, of all the shows. So there's a ton of great ones to choose from. So buy mine or buy anyone else's in Pro Wrestling Junkies.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, Brad just had his Toilet Side Wrestling Talk shirt drop. Steven's got little man Steven, who I'll be talking to very shortly here. He's got his Steve's 3 shirt. We've got the, couple Pro Wrestling Junkie shirts. We got the virtual markout. We've got a show shirt for my show. We've got a shirt that just dropped for the Junkyard, which is
that's a really cool one. Did you have any involvement in that? Because I really like that. It's got your names, the caricatures of your guys.
Well, that was all Giovanni Tuhati reached out to a friend of his who did the design and stuff. He would ask for like our input on kind of like, what we want on the design and things like that, but that was mostly him and
it's really cool
and stuff. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be getting one of those and stuff to support. But yeah, guys, take a moment. Like I said, one of the things that's really nice about Brad shows is that they're easily digestible because, they're not, these 4-hour long, WrestleMania long shows. I mean, you can listen to one in one sitting and stuff, and it provides a lot of really good insight with, not only the wrestlers, but his stuff he does, getting to know a junkie and show and tell. It's just kind of getting to know the fellow, members of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group, and who knows, you may see that you share an interest with somebody and, reach out to them and make a new friend.
Absolutely.
And that's well, Brad, I know you got some other things going on, so I'm going to let you go here.
Thank you for having me on, DDJ. This is a lot of fun. You're doing great with this, and I love listening to your podcast when it drops on Mondays.
Well, I appreciate that so much, man. And Brad, I know we'll be talking before then, man. But
for sure.
June 12th can't come soon enough, buddy.
Totally. We'll be all vaccinated. It's going to be great.
Yes. And for those of you wondering, June 12th, 2021 is the date of the next Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show, which Brad, myself, and fellow co-host of the Junkyard, Giovanni Tuhati, will be in attendance for. So we cannot wait for that. But Brad, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. And I'll see you on Facebook.
Awesome. It's truly my pleasure. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
This is Tim Storm, former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. You're listening to What Do You Say with DDJ. If you love professional wrestling, this is where you need to get your information. Don't miss this.
All right. We are back with part 2 of episode 34 of What Do You Say with DDJ. The last of the 3 What Do You Say with DDJ Invasion shows where I profile the other hosts of the other podcasts that are part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad. And I have saved the best for last because joining me right now is one of the coolest little dudes I know out there who's one of the biggest wrestling fans I know. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the excitement beaming out of his face and stuff. The ladies and gentlemen, this is Steven Spice. Steven, my man, how are you doing this evening?
Okay, before we start, excuse me, I'm not one of the best. I am the best.
Oh, excuse me. I am so sorry. Let me do that again. The best little wrestling fan out there in the Pro Wrestling Junkies world, Steven Spice. How was that?
Perfect.
All right, I got the approval. I'm good, man. So how you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing fine.
Awesome. So the first question I ask every single person I have on my show, and you are definitely no exception, is how did you discover professional wrestling?
I had my first brain surgery, and the doctor said that you cannot go on trampolines, you cannot go on bouncy castles because I can't go on roller coasters, so I couldn't be a normal kid. Then I said, I'm done with life. I can't do it anymore. Then I found this video of John Cena saying never give up. And that's when my journey began.
That's awesome and stuff.
And I just followed through it the way I go.
Yeah, and judging by your little collection you have behind you, you got a lot of guys you're into there. So besides John Cena, who else are some of your favorite wrestlers?
Honestly, I think we'll be here for days if I answer on that question.
Well, how about this? How about you give me five more? Just give me five.
Okay, it's not to be from the Indies because I love everybody from the Indies. So I'm gonna do someone from AEW. So
Cool.
I love Darby Allin. That's the one I really like. Brian Cage, Sonny Kiss, John Moxley because I just got the John Moxley chase.
Oh, congratulations, man!
I got two. I gave one to Johnny because he's the one that got me the first John Moxley chase.
That's really cool, man.
Last one would be probably Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes is actually a sweetheart. He's really nice.
Yeah, I've met Cody a few times. He's always been really cool to me and stuff. So I would 100% agree with that. So
I've seen some videos of him giving his belts away.
Yeah, and he's done that, and he's actually reached out to a very good friend of mine who's got a little girl who's had some health issues, and they got invited to a show once fans are able to start going back. So it was really, really nice little gesture for him to do that for my friend and stuff. So what is it about pro wrestling that you really like the most?
How hardcore it is, and how the people that put their bodies on the line for people to watch. Mm-hmm. That's something that's and also it's a sport that people never give up, and whenever they get knocked down, they get right back up. So
do you think like a lot of really good life lessons are kind of taught to us when while watching wrestling, you think? Yes, and also because I said that answer to your last question, it's because look at Darby Allin at Revolution. At Revolution, he jumped off that story window, right? Yes, he did. And he just fought. He's fighting tonight, and he fought 2 nights ago, and he hurt his ankle, and he's fighting tonight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he just got back up, even though he has an injury. He got right back up. Yeah, that's a really good lesson for people to learn. So let me ask you this. First off, Steven, a lot of people may not necessarily know how old you are. How old are you? I am 9. Wow, you're for a 9-year-old man, you sure know a lot about wrestling and stuff. 4 months until my birthday. 4 months. And then you're going to be 10? Wow. My mom's getting very upset about it. She doesn't want me to be double digits. What? Well, because you're hitting double digits, yeah. Well, I've got a son who's going to be 6 in about a little under a month, and I'm kind of getting, parents get that way. So just as a little favor, man, from one parent to another, cut your mom some slack because it's just you're growing up, and and it's a hard thing to watch your kids grow up because you want them to be little forever. I know I'm like that with my son, so cut your mom a little slack there, all right? Okay. All right, buddy. Okay. So one of the things that you've gotten to be really well known for on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group is your Steve's 3. And for those of you that are listening to this who don't know what Steve's 3 is we do a lot of virtual meet and greets as part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies group. We call them virtual markouts. And Steven is always the third guest person on to ask a question, but he doesn't ask just one. He doesn't ask just 2. He asks 3 questions of every wrestler we have. No, sometimes it's 5 or maybe 4. 4? Okay. So sometimes 3. Usually puts them in case someone steals my question. Then I'm like, they didn't ask me a question, but I should put it in because I really want to know. So I asked it. So what is it like when you get to talk? How do you feel when you get to talk to these wrestlers? I feel joy going up my body, and yeah, I feel happy. And so when you said it's been going straight with my wrestling career, right? Mm-hmm.
But there was one point where I went down. It wasn't really nothing to do with wrestling. Then I went back up and got to wrestling again.
That's awesome. So, when you kind of didn't want anything to do with wrestling, what brought you back?
Probably AEW.
Okay. And what was it about AEW that brought you back?
Revolution. First event that I've watched in I didn't watch one single wrestling event in 2 months when I went downhill. And then that was my first one, and I went right back up.
And what was your favorite match from that Revolution show?
Easy. Either it was a falling death match, or it was the Derby Allen match. That's why I love Derby Allen.
Yeah, that street fight was pretty cool and stuff. So one of the things, I just got done actually interviewing your tag team partner on Steven and Brad's Talking Wrestling right before I started recording with you, and he told me that you are a diehard fan of death matches. Is that true?
Yeah.
What is it? Because what is it about the death matches that you really like?
You know how the B word goes all over their face? And they go through, they like DDJ and do these cool moves on the barbed wire and stuff?
Right, yeah.
There's your answer.
Now, have you, I know you probably haven't been to any shows lately, but when you used to go to shows with like your mom and your dad, did you ever get to see any death matches live?
Mexican death match, Japanese death match. Want me to name any more?
Whatever you want to name, buddy. This is your time.
I've seen a hardcore match. I've seen, let me think, a steel cage match too, actually. I got every wrestling event that has a very, very brutal ending.
So let me ask you this. You obviously like going to live shows, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I went downhill with wrestling. I haven't gotten to a live event in a few months, so I went downhill with wrestling. Then I got right back up because of Revolution. Because it feels like I'm right there. It feels like I'm right there.
Yeah, you definitely, and we definitely need that this time. So if you had to pick out your favorite match that you actually saw live, like that you were there for, could you tell me what it is?
Japanese death match.
Who were the participants in the match?
Justin Max something. I don't know.
Okay.
You know who it is? Justice. Justice. He was one of them, and Channing Decker.
Okay.
There was like barbed wire on the sides of the ropes. There was like a barbed wire thing, and Channing got his boot stuck in the barbed wire, and he got almost put through a table. Oh, it was awesome.
Oh my God, you crack me up. I love your interview.
Trust me, Aiden Prince, he has some good matches.
Cool. I might have to have you maybe send me some YouTube links where I can see some of this stuff. I want to see what you like about it and stuff. So now are both your mom and dad wrestling fans as well too?
Yeah, they're decent. Not as good as me.
Oh, okay. What makes you a what do you think makes you?
Well, actually, they're tied with me pretty much.
Okay, all right.
But I'm more hardcore than them.
Okay, and what is it? Why do you consider yourself more hardcore than your mom and dad?
I don't freak out when I see all the B words coming out from their face.
Oh, okay. So, but your mom and dad do?
Well, my dad's used to it, so he doesn't really freak out.
But your mom maybe isn't as used to it as much?
No, she's not as used to it because my dad's the only one that comes to wrestling events with me.
Oh, your mom doesn't go with you?
No, she usually watches Liam.
And Liam's your brother, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So what's your favorite thing about going with your dad to the wrestling shows?
Well, he's actually really funny, and he's like, bro, whenever something very good happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually a really good guy to actually sit down and talk with when you go to a wrestling event, because he's actually freaking out whenever something really good happens, and it was like awesome. But lately, hasn't been the same because he's just had surgery.
Oh well, I hope your dad's feeling better after his surgery.
Yeah, he only had it like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope he feels better, and that when shows start when you can start going to shows again, he can start taking you back to the shows.
Yeah.
And that's so again, we talked about a little while ago. Again, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can see it, but if you're listening to this on audio, Steven is sitting in front of an impressive collection of wrestling figures, and I have to ask you, man. What is out of all those figures you got behind you, which one is your favorite?
Well, I don't have many favorites. I have loads of favorites. I have a lot of favorites, but I would say it goes to, see that John Cena right up there?
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see it, yeah.
That one up there.
Okay, yes, I see it.
That's a limited edition Jax figure of John Cena, and that's one of my favorites. But I would say consider it as my favorite.
Okay, cool. And
actually, I'm sorry.
No,
sorry,
you're good,
Cena. My favorite one is Channing Decker.
I'm sorry, who was that?
I have a Channing Decker figure, custom made.
Oh, cool. And how did you get that?
I got it. So I sent in a Jax Billy Gunn. They took off the head and they used Terry Funk, his body and legs and arms, and created a Channing Decker.
That's really cool. So let me ask you this: do you get a lot of wrestling stuff for like your birthday and for Christmas?
Yes.
What would you say is the
all I get?
Oh, okay. So what would you say was the coolest wrestling related birthday gift you've ever gotten?
Well, I don't remember much birthdays because I've been alive 9 years and I have both severe brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite one was probably the Turbo Talk birthday question. There was like Aleister Black in it, Brian Cage, there was like Tessa Blanchard and all that. It was, oh my god. Cody Rhodes was in it.
That's really cool. So obviously I'm gonna assume that you still watch wrestling right now. I know, in fact, you're getting ready to watch Dynamite here shortly after we're done with this interview. So like do you watch WWE and AEW?
Actually, I don't really watch Raw and SmackDown anymore, but I do watch the pay-per-views.
Okay. And is it just because it's is Raw and SmackDown? Is it just because why don't you watch Raw and SmackDown?
Because and now that I have school, it's hard. It's hard enough to watch all the events every Mondays and Fridays. Can't keep up.
Gotcha. It's a lot of wrestling to watch. Even someone like me who I probably watch some kind of wrestling every day, Monday through Friday. Sometimes it's harder than others and stuff. So,
remember that Channing Decker figure I was talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know where you found the headband.
That is so cool, guys. If you can see, if you're not watching, if you're listening to this on audio, he's showing me this really cool custom figure he had made. It's very well done. So that is awesome.
Now I'm just shooting for another Channing that's a little bit better because of the head sculpt. It's a Jackson on a Mattel Elite.
Okay.
But I'm fine with this one, but I'm hoping I get a new one that's like upgraded and it's just an Elite. And yeah, and so if I get that, I'm going to be going after Aiden Prince and all my favorites.
So now is Channing Decker? I'm assuming he's a independent wrestler that wrestles in your area.
Yeah, he wrestles a lot in Toronto, but he did go to Japan for 2 weeks. His back was messed up.
Oh wow! So have you had a chance to show him that figure?
And he owns Greektown.
Oh, okay. Now have you had a chance to go to a show and show him that figure in person?
Well, not show him in person, but. Because when I got this figure, it was when I was in the hospital for 4 days.
Okay.
Then I sent him a video where I was like, look what I get in my ass today. Because that's what he does.
Oh, and what was his response when he saw the video?
His response was, you're hardcore.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna double down with what he says. You are hardcore, man. You really are. And that's so one of the things that you've recently started doing, as well as you started up your own podcast with Brad Marcus, who I just had on, and that's so how much fun do you have recording with Brad?
Honestly, those are my funnest interviews that I have. I can't wait every weekend. I was like, when is Brad Marcus coming on? I love those interviews. They're like I was hoping you would ask that. I love those interviews.
Well, I couldn't have you on and not talk to you about that, man, because I'm a huge fan of your guys' show. I listen every week. And that's so in your show, you do a lot of fun stuff. You have your rant, you have where you review like a movie or like an old cartoon. But my favorite thing that you and Brad do are the promos, where you basically reenact a promo. Who came up with that idea? Was it you or was that Brad?
That was Brad.
Uh-huh.
He came up with the whole show. I'm very happy about it. And
Yeah.
Did you see this episode? AEW Revolution was very good. Was smashing tables, exploding wires, except for when we returned to Sparkler School.
Yeah, I saw that, man, and I loved it. I was actually, I think I was in my work van listening to it on my way out to do my deliveries and stuff when I heard that, and I popped pretty hard for that, man. I was like, man, that was really good and stuff. So let me ask you this, a couple more questions here, and then I'll let you go because I know you want to go on. What's up, dude?
Maybe after COVID, I might meet you and give you an autograph. That'll be worth a lot of money in the future.
Dude, that I'm in. I'll get a special frame. I'll put it in a really nice spot so everybody can see it. When people ask who that is, I'll say that is the most hardcore kid I know, Steven Spice. How does that sound?
So, actually, if I give you an autograph, you'll be one of the only people that have an autograph. There's only 3 people right now. There's Aiden Prince, Joe Hendry, and my mom.
I feel honored to be one of the very few that's going to have a Steven Spice autograph picture, man. I can't wait. So I got a couple more questions to ask you here, and then I'm gonna let you go so you can get ready for Dynamite. So I've asked everybody that I've had on these last couple of shows this question, and obviously I want to get your take on it as well. What is it about pro wrestling fans that really separates them from, say, fans of like, the NHL or Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NBA in your mind? Like what makes wrestling fans the coolest fans out there?
They're family. Wrestling fans are family.
I love that answer.
Ohana means family.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from my mom because she loves Stitch.
Yeah, my one of my best friends, his wife loves Stitch as well too. So
hey, she used to call me Stitch because I have a stitch in the back of my head.
Yeah, but but you know what though? Stitch is a really cute little character, so I hope you take that as a compliment.
Did you just say? Wait, you said yeah, but because that means you said I'm not Stitch, and you said he was cute.
Stitch, I said Stitch is cute. I think Stitch is cute.
No, I mean you said pretty much. You said I'm not Stitch, right? And then you said Stitch is cute.
No, I'm thinking you should take your mom calling you Stitch as a compliment because Stitch is a cute little character.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, man. You're awesome, man. I love your enthusiasm when you ask the questions on Steve's 3. I love your enthusiasm on Steve and Brad's talking wrestling and stuff like that. And one of the last questions I got for you is, go ahead, buddy.
One thing I noticed is WWE is pretty much copying. I just noticed at Fastlane that WWE just a little bit copied AEW.
How so?
Because when the ladder match happened and Scorpio Sky won, he was holding his back with his hand.
Mhm.
Like when his hand was like behind his back, his hand was facing the audience.
Okay.
And when Drew McIntyre fought Sheamus, Drew McIntyre did the same exact thing in the same exact spot.
Yeah, they might have been hurting though, because I mean, if you watched that match with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus at Fastlane, right?
Mhm.
They were both pretty sore after that match and stuff, so he may have been
I
just.
know, but like I don't think I saw Drew fall on his back once.
Mhm. But
I
you know
think
what?
he, like,
I think
yeah,
everybody copies everybody, so I think it's a little bit of. I think everybody likes to copy everybody, so.
I think he bumped here and there, but I don't think that's him growling like on his back. That's over much.
Gotcha. So, all right, man. So,
Actually, their match was awesome. I don't blame him.
mhm.
It was an actually really hardcore match. I don't blame him for holding his back and screaming.
I don't either because I watched it and it was pretty brutal.
He put his back. He put him on the line.
Mm-hmm. So I got to ask you this. So, last question I got for you: how cool is it that you have a T-shirt up on Pro Wrestling Tees?
Awesome. I'm hoping that they will send me one for free. And I'll be wearing it like, yo, it's me, Steven Spice, man.
Well, I got one when my shirt came out for my show. I went out and bought one. I was like, I'll pay for my own shirt and stuff. I would have loved to got one for free, but I paid for it because people can be like, oh, who's that shirt? That's like, oh, that's my show, and stuff. So it'd be kind of cool to have your own thing and stuff. So,
I'm buying one.
You are, but yeah, you definitely
Also,
bought
I'm
it.
I'm making all the money that when my shirts sell.
You're getting all that money.
Money. I'm Shane McMahon now. Money. Dollar.
So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with all the money you make from the sales of your T-shirt?
Some of it's gonna go on investing for my college tuition. Some of it's gonna be buying wrestling figures, loads of stuff.
Nice. That's smart to put some of it away for college.
If I make a lot of money, I'll put some to charity.
That's really cool. I love that.
For my Chiari affirmation research.
Gotcha. Alrighty, Steven. Well, Dynamite's in about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna let you go so you can go watch it and stuff. But little man, dude, I want to thank you so much, man. This is probably one of the most fun interviews I've ever done, man.
I cracked up DDJ. I cracked him up very well because he laughed so hard.
You probably made me laugh more than anybody else, man, and I love to laugh. So thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
No problem, buddy. You stay strong, man, and I'm gonna definitely have you back on my show somewhere down the line. All right?
Okay. Oh, I'll be glad to do another interview with you.
Absolutely, man. We'll make it happen somewhere down the line. All right?
Maybe we'll do it on how about Tuesday? Next Tuesday?
Well, I'm gonna be on vacation then. But how about this? We'll set something up for sometime during the summer when we can talk a little bit more. All right?
Okay.
All righty, buddy. You take it easy, man, and you be good for your mom and dad. All right?
Oh, and remember when we do that next interview? Don't do it on an AEW. Don't do it on an AEW night.
I promise.
Then we'll have to rush it again.
I think I like that idea, man. You're it's a good idea. We'll definitely do it on a non-AEW night.
We'll have to do it on no AEW, man. Because I want to rush it again.
All right, man. Well, you take it easy, buddy, and I'll see you around, all right?
Okay. Bye.
What's up, guys? This is Mr. 3% John Hudson here, the gold standard of professional wrestling, the doctor of Gainsonomics, the nephew to Hercules, the grandson to Zeus, the son of the mother of Gains, and the creator of Gains Babies, and you are listening to What You Say with DDJ.
Brad and Steven, thank you so much. It was a pleasure interviewing you both. I really hope that those of you listening to this enjoyed getting to know these two. Steven is one of the coolest kids I know, and Brad just does so much great work for the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group. And I look forward to interacting with those two more in the future. Don't forget to check out new episodes of Steven and Brad's Talking Wrestling that drop every Wednesday on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook page, as well as the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad, by which you can actually access by just wherever you get your podcast, just type in Pro Wrestling Junkies. Be sure to buy one of the many t-shirts that we have on the Pro Wrestling Junkie store, part of the ProWrestlingTees.com website. You can get the brand new Toilet Side Wrestling Talk t-shirt. You can get the brand new Steve's 3 shirt. You can also get one of the other shirts that are already part of our store. That would be the Pro Wrestling Junkies logo, the I was part of the virtual markout t-shirt, or the Don't Be a Heel, Be a Babyface shirt, or you can get a What Do You Say with DDJ shirt. And brand new to the store as well is the official shirt of the Junkyard, one of the coolest designs I have ever seen for a wrestling podcast related t-shirt. Well, that's all the time I have this week. Tune in next week for what should be a pretty spectacular 35th episode. So before I sign off, just once again, this episode was dedicated to the memory of my friend Steve Becker, who passed away recently after a long battle with cancer. Caitlin, Steve will always be with you in spirit, and if you ever need someone to talk to, you know how to get a hold of me. Okay, so guys and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week with episode 35 of What Do You Say with DDJ.
If you love professional wrestling and great podcasts, check out What Do You Say with DDJ on Facebook, Twitter, and also on ProWrestlingTees.com. In the search field, just type in DDJ and buy the best professional wrestling podcast shirt around.